Okay, thanks so much. Welcome everybody to the live self-talk coaching session. We're really excited that you're here. Sometimes we get asked, can I see a wisdom coaching session in action? And that's exactly what today is all about. This isn't a presentation about coaching. It is a coaching session, a group coaching session where we're going to walk you through a wisdom coaching session to help you develop one of the most powerful skills we help kids develop, and that's the skill of self-talk. So you're going to get to experience firsthand how a coaching story, a conversation, and a simple activity transforms how a child talks to themselves and how you talk with yourself as well. So one of the amazing things about coaching children is that the work we do to support children supports us in our own personal growth as well. So by the end of our time together, you're going to understand the skill of self-talk, and you'll also be ready to share it with the children in your life and see how achievable this really is. And you're going to leave with the confidence, the tools, and a step-by-step process to start making a difference in a child's life right away, even if you've never coached before. So I'm Renaye Thornborrow. I'm the founder of Adventures in Wisdom. And since 2013, our company has certified many hundreds of coaches, people just like you, in over 30 countries to become a life coach for kids. They're transforming the lives of children and families around the world using our story-based coaching curriculum. And children are developing the mindset skills to build resilience so they can navigate those ups and downs of growing up, to proactively build their confidence and self-esteem, to become self-leaders and go for their goals, and so much more. And I'm here today with 3 of our certified wisdom coaches who will be guiding you through this session, and then all 4 of us will be here at the end for Q&A. And I wanted to invite 3 of our coaches to help guide you through this because they all have different styles and different approaches. But the one thing they all have in common is a proven coaching curriculum and a passion for making a difference in children's lives. So I want to introduce you to our team in the order they're going to be appearing today. First, we have Karen Robertson. She is a member of our Adventures in Wisdom team. She helps out in marketing and is also our Senior Director of Coach Success. She supports wisdom coaches around the world in their businesses, and she's been coaching kids since 2022. She works both in person and online, mostly coaches one-on-one, but runs some workshops as well. And she lives in Sydney, Australia. And yes, we are related. Karen is my twin sister. Then we have Rahima Koja. Rahima? She is an expert wisdom coach. She's been coaching since 2018 and has a full-time coaching practice in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. She coaches in person and online, primarily one-on-one. Then we have Delia Rusu. She's an expert wisdom coach, and she's been coaching since 2016. And she's always chosen to coach kids part-time because she has a full-time career that she loves. And currently she's primarily coaching children online, but she's worked with children between the ages of 5 through teens and even young adults. She's worked one-on-one, small groups, workshops. She's done it all over the years. And before we begin this session, I want to share a couple things that are really important to understand about wisdom coaching, so you can kind of watch for it during the session. So the first thing to know is that stories are at the start and the heart of every wisdom coaching session, because stories are such a powerful way for children to learn these mindset skills in a way that they're going to remember it. And the reason for that is brain science. You see, when we hear stories, multiple areas of our brain are activated, including our language centers, emotional centers, sensory, and imagination. And because more of our brain is involved, it creates an experience, and this deepens the learning in our brain and the brain patterns. And it helps create long-term learning for kids, especially when the story is combined with discussion questions and multisensory activities. Our stories are also written in a fable format, so kids can see themselves in the characters and the situations in the story, and they can see how mindset skills can help them face a similar situation more empowered. And using these skills that you help them develop as a coach. Another thing to know is that you're going to hear 2 important terms that we use throughout the coaching story and session, and it's integral to wisdom coaching, and that's grungies and dragons. So grungies are those negative feelings. Sometimes you feel a little off, anxious, nervous, or afraid, whereas dragons, those are the negative thoughts that cause those grungy feelings, because negative feelings or our thoughts create our feelings. And so we use these terms to give children an emotionally safe way to talk about what they're feeling and what they're thinking. And this really opens the door for them to explore what they're going on with your guidance as their coach. Also, you can see that coaching is how we help children develop these skills. This isn't about watching a video or using an app or a child going through an online training on their own. Coaching is rooted in human-to-human connection. And throughout this session, we're going to be asking you questions and exploring your thoughts and insights. And that's exactly how we work with kids too. Wisdom coaching is all about creating that emotionally safe space for kids. The curriculum, the coaching process, that provides the content and the structure, but you provide the connection that really brings it all to life and helps create transformation in children's lives. So now I want to invite Karen to share about one of her clients and share how life-changing this work can be. And then we'll start the coaching session itself.
Thanks, Renaye. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Yes, great. Okay, so before I share this story of one of my clients, I just want to let you know that in the beginning, it actually wasn't my goal to become a life coach for kids. I joined the Adventures in Wisdom team in early 2021 in a marketing role. And one of the first things I did was I interviewed wisdom coaches from around the world for a video series we were doing. And what I found was that our coaches loved this work so much and they were getting such amazing results that I was really inspired and I decided I wanted to get certified so I could play too. So the thing is, though, that while I'm a mother myself, I didn't have any background working with kids. But what I discovered from my very first coaching session is that the wisdom coaching curriculum and the story process are so powerful that I could simply follow it step by step while providing that safe and non judgmental space for a child. And the results have been absolutely phenomenal. So let me share a quick story with you about my second client, a 7-year-old girl we'll call Mary. So Mary struggled a lot with anxiety, and it just made school drop off difficult every day. It kept her from doing fun things like going to the movies and the jumping castles because she was really anxious about going somewhere new. But her biggest challenge was that she had not gone to the bathroom by herself in more than 3 years. Because when she was 4 years old, she found a giant spider in the toilet. And since then, she'd been too afraid to go on her own. So a parent always had to be with her at home or when she was out, and a schoolmate would go with her at school. So as you can imagine, this impacted her a lot, but also the whole family. So when I first started working with Mary, she really wanted to overcome this. And one of the first skills I taught her was self-talk, using the exact same story and process that you're about to experience. And so the mirror mantra that Mary came up with was, I can do it. And she would do a power pose with her hands on her hips. I can do it. And so after we did the session of self-talk on that day, we decided to tackle her bathroom fear because we were actually coaching at her home. So together we created a simple action plan. So step one was she would do her mirror mantra, I can do it. And then step two was she would lift the toilet lid with her foot so she was safe, at a safe distance. Then she would flush to make sure nothing was there. And then she would put paper down in the water so nothing could come up. And then she'd do her business. So we just practiced and we role played literally 3 times. And then she went on her own for real. And she kept doing it and she never looked back. And that was just after 4 coaching sessions. So as you can imagine, she and her family were absolutely thrilled. In total, we did 10 coaching sessions together. And Mary conquered that fear of going to new places. So she was going out with friends and going to the jumping castles. She was also terrified of going on an overseas vacation. It was a ski trip. So she conquered that. Her school drop offs became peaceful. And she even sailed through a surprise mid year teacher change that had her really freaked out when she learned about it. And 2 years later, Mary is still thriving. She's been voted class captain. She sings solo on stage, and she still uses her mirror mantra of, I can do it. And it all began with her learning these life changing mindset skills through stories, exploring her thoughts and her feelings through talking, and then experiencing the skills through activities in a safe coaching space with me, and then taking brave action in real life. And I can't tell you how amazing it is to still receive messages from Mary's mom. So I know I've made a difference in her life, and they're so grateful, and so am I. So let's take a moment to talk about what it is that's in store for you today, because what you're about to experience is exactly what I did with Mary. So in today's session, you're going to experience the first 3 steps in the story coaching process. It's the same process that wisdom coaches around the world use to help kids build these confidence and self-esteem and resilience skills. And you're going to see it just like a child would, and you'll see how simple and effective and fun it is. So there are 5 steps in total of the story coaching process, STORY. So we're going to do step 1, which is share the story, because it's through story the kids learn about a skill. And Rahima is going to take you through that. Step 2 is to talk about the story and the skill. And this helps to deepen the understanding of what is learned in the story. And Delia is going to take you through that section. And then step 3 is to experience the skill through an activity where you'll try 2 simple and powerful activities that will help you practice shifting negative self-talk and proactively create positive self-talk. So that's what we're going to do today. Delia is going to take you through the first activity, and I'll take you through the second. So the main resource that we're using today throughout this session is the Self-Talk Skill Book from the Adventures in Wisdom Life Coaching for Kids curriculum. So we sent you a link to this when you registered for the event, but if you don't have it yet, don't worry, we're going to send it right after the session as well. If you have it in front of you, you can follow along if you wish, but we actually invite you to just set it aside and simply be present and engage with this session, just like a child will be. So one thing to know is that an Adventures in Wisdom skill book, it actually has 2 parts. So there's the mentor's guide with the background information and the coaching tips for you. And then there's the children's guide that includes the coaching story, the discussion questions, and the activities. So we're not going to walk through the mentor's guide today, but you'll be able to explore that when you're ready. But everything you're going to do today is right here in the children's guide. Now, a session like this with a child usually takes about 45 minutes to an hour. We'll take a little bit more than an hour today because we're explaining things as we go and doing this intro, etc. But one thing to note is that each skill starts with a special message from Wyatt the Wise Wizard. So Wyatt is the mentor in every Adventures in Wisdom coaching story. He helps the characters in the story understand how to navigate the challenges and situations that they're facing in the story and how to use mindset skills to solve the problem at hand so that the characters can feel really empowered. So you can think of Wyatt as your partner in coaching kids. So let's start very quickly. I'm going to open to page 3 of the children's guide, and I'll quickly read Wyatt's message, and then we'll pass it to Rahima. So Wyatt says, "Hello, everyone. Today, we're going to talk about one of the most important skills for creating strong self-esteem, powerful self-confidence, and achieving our goals. It's called self-talk, and it's really cool stuff. Let's get started with a quick activity, and then we'll read the story, Choosing Our BFF, or Best Friend Forever, and watch as Trudy learns how to choose her own BFF. Adventure well, my friends. Bye." Okay, Rahima, over to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Karen. Okay, well, we are going to get right into the story. What I normally do in my session is that we don't do this little short exercise in the beginning. It kind of helps the children to immediately see that they do talk to themselves. So just kind of helping them to understand, okay, what is self-talk? Self-talk is what we say to ourselves in our mind, through our thoughts, or even out loud, and helping them to realize that they actually do talk to themselves. So one thing I do with a lot of my students is, I'll say, okay, you woke up this morning and what did you say to yourself? Were you like, oh, do I have to go to school today? Oh, I'm hungry. Or, what are you kind of saying to yourself? And so they realize that, okay, they do talk to themselves. I also use my whiteboard in the background. I use a whiteboard, or you can just use, paper, and just kind of help them through thought bubbles. And so what's in your thought bubble? I often might just say that. What was in your thought bubble this morning? So if you go to page 4 of the children's guide, we're doing lesson 1, observing your own self-talk. And you'll see there's 6 scenarios for kids. So we're going to do one of those together. Okay. So we're going to go back in time to the time that you are 8 years old, and it's almost time for you to give a presentation. Okay, what are you thinking to yourself? And if you have an immediate answer to that question, that is your self-talk. And if you want, I would love to kind of understand what you were thinking to yourself. So go ahead and, put your comments in the chat. But a lot of times, especially with the young children that I'm working with, they get nervous, and that feeling of being nervous stems from a thought that's going on in their mind. So what are they saying to themselves? I'm so scared to do this. Oh, what if I mess it up when I go to the front? What if what if my friends laugh at me? Now, it can be negative, but it can also be positive that, oh, I'm ready for this. And when you think about it, think about what you're saying to yourself, but then the feeling that comes after you say that. So if it's negative self-talk, it doesn't feel very good, and you may have a feeling of nervousness or worry. Whereas on the other hand, if it's more positive, I'm ready for this, I'm ready to do it, then you're feeling better. You're feeling happy, maybe even excited to do this presentation. So, before we read the story, I'll just kind of share a few tips for keeping kids engaged while you are going through the story part of the coaching process. Really, really important to understand that every child learns differently. So just be flexible and just meet them where they are. Sometimes they might need to get up and walk around, or, sometimes they need to play with something, a fidget toy or whatever that might look like. I have so many things in my basket here. Like I have these interesting magnetic blocks that they might play with, or, a Rubik's Cube, or a fidget, anything like that that they might need just to keep them busy during the story. I also have some coloring pages. Delia has this phenomenal mandalas book, so sometimes I use some of her coloring pages, and anything like this, just, depends on the child. And I always ask them, I'll always say, what do you feel like doing while I'm reading the story? Do you just feel like sitting and listening to the story? Do you feel like doing something? And just kind of take the cue from them of what they would like to do. Remember that even though they might be doing something else while you're reading the story, that doesn't mean that they're not listening to the story. You are constantly planting the seeds. You might want to ask them also to take a turn to read. And I'll say that with my students as well. Do you want to read one page and I'll read one page? Or do you want to be Wyatt? And so, of course, here comes along Wyatt the Wise Wizard in a little puppet format. And they can actually be Wyatt and do that in the story as well. So a lot of, kind of different things that they can actually do. The goal is just to engage the children during the story and let them experience it in a way that works for them. Okay, so let's get into the story. Okay, here we go. I have such an exciting story to read to you. It's about Trudy the tortoise. And sometimes Trudy is a little bit mean to herself. So we're going to find out what she says about herself and how she can feel better. Because when we aren't nice to ourselves, it really doesn't feel good, does it? So the story starts on page 6 of the children's guide. And again, like I will be sitting with the kids, I will have the story in front of me. Sometimes I mirror it onto a screen if they want to look at it on the screen. It just depends on what you're comfortable with. But I've got it in front of me right now. And while they're doing whatever they feel like doing, I would be reading the story. All right, here we go. Choosing your BFF or best friend forever. So this is where I might ask the kids, what's your BFF's name? And so they might tell me a little bit about their BFF. And I might even go a little bit deeper depending on the child. What do you love about your best friend? And so then I might even say, if I went and asked Jane, who might be the best friend, what they love about you, what would they say? So automatically, trying to help them to understand that there's so many wonderful characteristics about them as well. Okay, it was the big day. Cheerleading tryouts, history test, and the announcement of the art contest winner all in one day. Trudy the tortoise woke up and her stomach was in knots. Okay, so this is where then I might right away go to the kids and say, do you ever get a tummy ache before you go to school? And then, often they might say, yeah, that happens to me because sometimes I just don't want to go to school, or I might have a test and I'm not comfortable with the test, anything like that. Again, the key is keeping them engaged and keeping it interactive. The events of the day were the first thing that popped into her mind. Maybe I shouldn't be trying out for cheerleading. I really can't jump very high, and I'm not as bouncy as the rabbits, mumbled Trudy to herself. I bet it's not too late to back out. And then I would say, if you were Trudy, would you back out? What would you do? She put on her dress and looked in the mirror. Oh, she thought, I really need to find some new clothes. She picked at her hair and she frowned. Well, I probably won't be going up on stage for the art contest anyway. Peter and Julie's pictures were much better than mine. How does that feel when you say that to yourself? So again, interactive. Trudy moped to her desk, picked up her books, and looked at the facts for the test that day. Oh, she thought to herself, I'm not good at history. She started to head downstairs for breakfast when suddenly, poof, Wyatt, the wise wizard, appeared. Wyatt, what are you doing here? Asked Trudy. Sent some major dragons and wanted to check in with you, answered Wyatt. I don't see any dragons, and I'm not feeling very grungy. Okay, so here we might go into what the grungies are, what types of feelings those are, and of course, those feelings that just don't feel good in our body. Um, What's going on? Ah, I was afraid of that, answered Wyatt. Afraid of what? Asked Trudy. That you didn't even realize the dragons were here, answered Wyatt, very concerned. You see, you've been using negative self-talk for so long that it's a habit. You didn't even realize you were doing it. Please tell me more, said Trudy. And what self-talk? I'm a bit confused. Definitely, said Wyatt. He pointed his finger towards the ceiling, and two clouds appeared. In one cloud, Trudy saw her best friend, Nikki. In the other cloud, she saw her other best friend, Pam. Nikki looked directly at Trudy and began to speak. Why did you wear that dress? It doesn't look very good on you. You really should wear your hair differently. Cheerleading tryouts for today. I don't even know why you're trying out. You're not gonna make the team. Everyone knows tortoises can't jump. You're too heavy. And forget about passing that test. You're not good at history, and your writing is terrible. Oh, and that art project you submitted for the competition, it's not good enough. Peter and Julie drew much better pictures. Yours will never win. Without a doubt, every child is looking at me now with their mouth hanging open and they're like, oh, how can you say these things? So it's so funny. Without a doubt, every single time. Trudy looked a bit surprised. She couldn't believe what Nikki was saying. How could my best friend talk to me that way? She asked Wyatt. And here I might come in and say, do you think your best friend would ever talk to you that way? Then Pam began to speak. Trudy, that's a beautiful dress. It really makes your eyes look green. Good luck with cheerleading tryouts. I know you're going to do great. Remember that tortoises make a great base for the pyramids, and you have such happy energy. Thank you for studying with me last night. We're both going to ace that history test. Oh, and that art project you submitted for the competition? Beautiful. I could feel the calm of the ocean just by looking at it. I bet you feel really proud of that picture. Good luck today. I can't wait to see you up on stage. And then I would say to the child, how's that sound? And of course, that sounds so much better. Phew, thought Trudy, that's more like it. Now, said Wyatt, which friend would you want to be around? Negative Nikki or positive Pam? Duh, I want to be around Pam. I don't know why Nikki was talking to me that way, answered Trudy. She was talking to you that way because that is the way you talk to yourself, explained Wyatt. What? Asked Trudy. I don't talk to myself. Ah, but you do. In fact, all of us do, all of the time, either through our thoughts or by the words we speak, shared Wyatt. It's called self-talk. Wow, I didn't even realize that, said Trudy. Many people don't, shared Wyatt. And did you know that most people talk to themselves with negative self-talk instead of positive self-talk? That would be like choosing to be around negative Nikki all of the time. And again, I would come in here saying, what would it feel like to be around negative Nikki all the time? What feeling would that give you? And then I might even tell them, do you want to go up to the whiteboard or draw on your paper a face that, might be what you would feel like when negative Nikki is talking all the time. And so what we're doing here is we're drawing the thought feeling connection here. So the child understanding that the way that I talked to myself really has a huge impact on how I feel. Choosing to be around somebody who's always finding something wrong with you and tearing you down. Can you imagine that? Yet most people put themselves down every day. I had no idea. What can I do about it? Asked Trudy. Let's talk about self-talk, answered Wyatt. So self-talk is what we say to ourselves either with our words or through our thoughts. There's two types of self-talk, positive self-talk and negative self-talk. Positive self-talk builds us up and makes us feel good about ourselves. Saying things like, I can do this, or I'm going to do great, are examples of positive self-talk. You mean like if I tell myself I'm going to do great at cheerleading tryouts? Asked Trudy. Exactly, said Wyatt. Negative self-talk tends to bring us down. Saying things like, I can't do this, or this is too hard, are examples of negative self-talk. Negative self-talk creates bad energy and feelings of fear and self-doubt. Negative self-talk creates major grungies. Oh, like when I told myself I probably wouldn't be going up on stage anyway, confirmed Trudy. You got it, said Wyatt. You are the most important person in your life, and it's your job to lift yourself up and make yourself feel good. What you say to yourself is more important than what anyone else says to you. As a leader of your own life, you have the power to choose what you say to yourself. With positive self-talk, you become your own BFF, best friend forever. That's cool. I want to be my own BFF, exclaimed Trudy with excitement. One thing I don't get, how does self-talk work? Ah, that was next, shared Wyatt. You see, your self-talk programs your mind, both your conscious mind and your subconscious mind, to create what you say. Now, here, sometimes I've had students say to me, I don't know what that is. And so what I would tell them is, I'll explain more about your conscious and subconscious mind later on and help you to understand what that means. And so, again, there might be terminology that they don't know. And if they do question it, tell them that you will explain it to them. If you say you won't do well on something, your mind will work to create that. If you say you will do well on something, your mind will work to create that too. Now, if you notice, what I'm doing here is I'm changing my tone a lot throughout the whole story. I've been changing my tone, emphasizing some words. And so that is what really kind of makes the story more exciting for the kids. I really feel like when you're more monotone, they kind of zone out a little bit. But again, keeping it really interactive, changing your tone, hand gestures, whatever that might look like to really keep them engaged. Each time you state what you want, you build neural pathways and trigger your RAS to make it happen. It's important to make sure your mind is working for you and not against you. Wow, that makes sense. I knew that visualization and affirmations did that, but I didn't realize that self-talk did that too, said Trudy. Yes, answered Wyatt. Your words and your thoughts can make you feel great and make you feel powerful, or they can create the grungies. It's up to you to choose what you want. I want to be my own BFF, said Trudy. How do I create positive self-talk? There are two steps, answered Wyatt. The first step is to notice your current self-talk. Just pay attention. Ask yourself, is this thought helping me? One of the best ways to notice your self-talk is to pay attention to how you're feeling. If you're feeling the grunges, there are probably negative thoughts in your mind. If you're feeling good, there are probably positive thoughts in your mind. Here's the key. When you discover negative self-talk, just gently shift your thoughts to positive self-talk. Shifting your thinking transforms your feelings almost immediately. Wow, that's amazing. I can do that, exclaimed Trudy. What's the second step? The second step is to use positive self-talk on purpose. Practice saying positive messages to yourself throughout the day. Practicing will program your mind to use positive self-talk more often. Start first thing in the morning, then continue throughout your day. When you first wake up, send yourself a positive message. Each time you look in the mirror, send yourself a positive message. Right before you go to bed, send yourself a positive message. Each time you use positive self-talk, you are strengthening the neural pathways in your brain to think positively about yourself. This will build your self-esteem and your confidence. That sounds cool, said Trudy. I'm going to work on this every day. Thank you so much for teaching me this. You are quite welcome, answered Wyatt with a wink. You're my BFF, Wyatt, and now I'm my own BFF too, smiled Trudy. And poof, Wyatt was gone. Um, Something to also remember that I just thought about in between when we're referring to negative Nikki and positive Pam, something that Renaye had mentioned in an interview is kind of in the middle. First of all, asking the child, where do you think, which part of your body do you think your mind is? And most of the time they point to their head. And, helping them to understand that negative Nikki and positive Pam actually live in their mind, and they get to choose which one they want to listen to more or which one is louder, and they get to choose which one they want to be stronger. So again, coming back to choices, going back to habits, that just as you create a habit, you can also change a habit. So lots of stuff kind of in between there, or in between the story, to keep it really engaging and interactive for the child, for the student. Okay, so now that we've read the story, we're going to move to the second step in the story coaching process, which is talk about the story and the skill. So I'm going to pass it on to Delia to take you through this important step. Thank you.
Thank you, Rahima. Wasn't that the most amazing story? Like, I've been reading this story for maybe thousands of times, but every time I'm hearing it, it's like my heart is, palpitating. And then what's Pam saying? And what is Nikki saying? The kind of thing. That is amazing. The power of storytelling, which is one of the main ingredients in our curriculum at Adventures in Wisdom. So, as Rahima was saying, and Karen was explaining at the beginning, the steps for the coaching process, I'm going to be explaining now the second one, which is talking about the story. So we using all sorts of modalities, not only the storytelling, but other modalities too, so that we reach children in different ways. But what we do now is have a focused discussion on the story. In the children's guide that Karen was showing initially, we have discussions about the story. I'm just putting this up here. There's actually 10 of them, so you can ask those with the child. I want to go just through one, just to exemplify, just to show how this might look like. And because we are in a virtual environment here, what I want to do is to choose one of these questions, reading it out loud to you, and asking you if you are willing to please put the answer in the chat. Question number 8, which is really interesting, I believe, and very good for the concept, is how do you spot negative self-talk? Know that if you are stuck on one of the questions that are offered in the children's guide, there are answers to that questions at the end. Karen, would you want to help me a little bit with some of the answers?
Here, so negative feelings, when you feel bad, when we feel off, angry, or worried, you feel something strange in your body. talk that doesn't make you feel happy or safe, you don't feel very good. Yes, you feel the grungies. So yeah.
Yes, exactly, exactly. So thank you so much for everybody who took the time to put your answers in the chat. That's exactly right. So when we to know whether we have negative self-talk or even self-talk for that matter, just to have an indication that that is happening, we're looking at the grunges. So immediately your body is going to tell you that something is off. I don't want to necessarily say wrong or use the word negative. Those are feelings that we might be having, but they're certainly uncomfortable feelings. So it could be sadness, disappointment, frustrations, anger, just feeling that something is weird, right? Like a pit in your stomach, or everybody's feeling it a little bit differently. Maybe your head hurts, or maybe you get all flushed. Those, everybody is different, but by being able to recognize those as an indication of what might be happening in your mind, this is a fantastic way in which we already just going and over the step that we are going to be presenting in here. So we're going to continue with furthering the conversation with some explanations from Wyatt. We have some extra coaching notes from him. Those are in here again in your wonderful guide, in your children's guide. We can learn ways in which we recognize self-talk, and we use some tools. I'm going to tell you what that is about in a moment, to stop that self-talk or to make ourselves, aware of it. And then we're going to shift it. Because usually when we have negative self-talk, the grunges and negative self-talk, it kind of prevents us from doing something, from achieving a goal that we have. The same for our children as well, and eventually from living a life in which we want to thrive for ourselves and for our children or the children that we coach. There are 2 steps, and remember from the story, so we're connecting the story with the additional explanation that we have in here about negative self-talk. Step number 1 is to notice it. So we have to first notice the grunges. Something is off, something is not feeling right. I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to use myself for that example. And then pay attention to what we're saying to ourselves. And then step 2 is to stop this negative self-talk and to change it to more positive, supporting, uplifting self-talk. We use 2 tools, or we can use 2 tools. I'm going to recommend you to try them and see what works best for you. One of them, we call it the stopping phrase. And the other one, I'm going to explain in a bit, we're calling it the stopping action. I felt a bit anxious before coming in front of all of you today. So I noticed that it's usually, for me, it is a pit in my stomach that I feel. It's just like my stomach becomes like a little bit of a rock. I'm like, what's happening here? What am I thinking? And immediately I'm thinking about, I hope I'm not going to mess this up. I hope I'm not going to, not know what to say, make a fool of myself. These things can happen in just like a fraction of a second. But if we learn to identify them, we're better equipped to work with it. And I have 2 tools for you. When this happens, I'm going to use a phrase, and my phrase can be stop Delia. That's my name. Stop Delia. Choose Delia. Remember how Wyatt taught us that we can choose what we believe for ourselves. And we can say cancel Delia. We can say, but gently. That is the trick. Be gentle. Don't be like, stop that right away. I can't believe it that you're not, going to be able to be kinder to yourself. Gently. And then we're going to flip it to something positive. We're going to learn that in the activity right after this. The second tool that I promised I'm going to offer you is a stopping action. And for me, a very helpful stopping action is to touch my heart. So when I feel that, I'm going back to my anxiety before being my turn to speak. I feel that in my stomach. What am I thinking? I'm nervous about this. Touch my heart, deep breath. It's going to be okay. Right? And I can move on and I can continue. And this is what I've actually been doing behind the scenes over here. Sometimes you don't want to say, stop it, or, out loud. You might say it in your head, but you might just want a gentle action that you can do that. And you can clap your hands. Some kids just like to clap their hands like that. Or I had coaching clients, children and young adults who are just like to put their finger here and think. So try a few of those things and see what works best for you. And you will see that in time, you're basically going to be rewiring your brain. So you're basically going to be directly going to a more positive. Speaking about shifting, we're going to get into, is this the third step? I think it's the third step today in the coaching session, which is activity. With the Adventures in Wisdom system, we like to offer, again, yet another way for children and for young adults and for us as well to experience the skill in a different way. And we've had fantastic and amazing success with activities, games, role play, art projects. Today, the one that I'm going to be presenting before I hand it over to Karen, who's going to do the second activity, is going to be like a role play activity. So it's basically going to be teaching you how to shift from negative to positive self-talk. And as always, you have all the information that you need in the children's guide. It's in the Let's Practice part of the guide, a handful of activities that you can go through. But I want to choose a specific one today that I want us to go through together. The situation is facing a new opportunity. And the negative thought is either I'm too young, either I'm too old. Just choose the one that you can refer to better. I don't have enough experience. I'm not confident enough. Other people are better than me. Now, how might you shift that to positive self-talk? Going back to the story, if positive Pam, your best friend, or the best friend in your mind, or you as your best friend, what might she say? Sometimes it doesn't have to be a complete, I work with children and they're like, but I'm not going to say the complete opposite because that would be a lie. It doesn't have to be. It just has to be slightly better than what your negative thought was. Like in my example, I hope I'm not going to mess up in front of all these people. I'm going to do my best. And I could have said even if I made a mistake, which I'm sure they might have done, it doesn't have to be perfect.
Okay, so a couple of these are, I can do it still. Trying will not hurt. I can learn anything.
Yes.
Even though this might be hard, I can still try. So some good answers here.
Yeah, very good answers, very good answers. And again, when I work with children, I always tell them, even if you feel that it's a little bit stretching, practice telling that to yourself because it's going to become your truth in time. With that, I will pass it over to Karen. We just mentioned that there's a second activity that she would take us through.
Great. Thanks, Delia, so much. I really appreciate it. Yeah, so in the self-talk story, we actually have several activities, or 3 activities in total. So Delia just took you through one, which is a number of different scenarios that you can practice shifting with the child. And the answers are at the back of the children's guide as well, if you're uncertain. And then what I'm going to talk about is a second activity, which is the second step that Wyatt talked about in the story, which is proactively creating positive self-talk. And the activity we're going to do is called the mirror mantra. It's super simple. It's really fun and very effective way to develop a habit of positive self-talk. So the idea is so simple. Every time you look in the mirror or you see your reflection, whether you're getting ready in the morning or you see your reflection in the window, You're going to send a positive message to yourself. And to help you, you can create a mirror mantra, which is a word or a short phrase that you say to yourself. And it works even better when you feel the positive energy flowing through your body when you say it. So a few examples of mirror mantras are things like "you rock" or "go for it," or like Mary did, "I can do it." Now, my personal one is "you've got this." I don't know why, it's just that's the one that works for me, and that's the one I use whenever I see myself. So in that moment, you get to, so in just a moment, we're going to create your own mirror mantra. I just wanted to give you a couple of tips before we do it. So the most important thing is when you create your mirror mantra, remember it needs to be meaningful to you, just like mine. "You've got this," just it's what resonates with me. It should be short and memorable. Be sure you write your mirror mantra in the present tense. So write "I've got this" as opposed to "I will get there." Do you hear the difference? And also make sure it's about you and not someone else. So "I am a great friend" versus "other people like me." And then you can have more than one mirror mantra as well. So let's just take 60 seconds so you can write your mirror mantra, because it's going to be something you have a gut reaction to. And then please, if you're open to it, share it in the chat, and we'll share a couple of those. And then I'm going to show you the way we make this extra fun for kids. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and share some because I just realized the time. So "I can do hard things." "I can do this." "I can do that." "Go for it." "You got this." "If I visualize, I can do it." "You have what it takes." Those are some fantastic ones. So those are great. So one of the ways that we make this activity even more fun and interactive for kids is that often wisdom coaches will have kids decorate a little mirror. So I get these little mirrors from the dollar store and with little stickers. And so we decorate with the the stickers that they love, and then I use my label maker to put their mirror mantra on it. So that's one thing you can do. But also kids can draw a picture of a mirror or even color in. So when we send the link after this today, there'll be a link to this coloring in sheet that you can use as well. So it's just a way to make it multisensory and a lot of fun. And it's one of the favorite activities for kids. So that's it. You've just experienced what it's like to learn self-talk using the story coaching process and the Adventures in Wisdom curriculum. This is exactly what I did with little Mary that I told you about in the beginning of the session. And isn't it incredible how easy that is? It's such an easy and powerful process. It's simply a coaching story, discussion, and an activity. But here's what makes these resources work for kids. It's really you. Because now more than ever, kids are really craving that human-to-human connection. And it's your connection as a coach that turns information into transformation. Kids just love coming to coaching sessions because they really feel that connection. They feel empowered by what they're learning, and they have a lot of fun. So for example, when I was in a neighborhood street party last December, I had kids excitedly introducing me to their friends, and it was just such a wonderful conversation and meeting kids that way. So we really want kids to learn these skills in a way that they will actually use them in their life for their lifetime. And that's why coaching is our model for teaching these mindset skills to kids. So with wisdom coaching, we know that repetition is really important. So that's why I'll quickly share the last two steps in that story coaching process that I told you. So you've just experienced those first three steps. We shared the story, we talked about the skill, we organized the activity, and then you experienced the activity, the skill through the activity. Those are the first three steps. If you were to be a coach, there's a step 4, which is the RSTOR, review the learning with a parent at the end of the session. And we have a little resource called the Wisdom for Home that you share with a parent that has key learnings and some activities and discussion points for home. And then step 5, Y, is yes, confirm the learning in the next session. So we have a couple short activities that take about 5 minutes to help check retention. And we have these little resources called the Ys and Fives that help you do that. So that's it. That's how easy this is. So Renaye, I'm going to pass it over to you so you can say a few words, and then we'll open it up to Q&A for everybody.
Fantastic. And thanks so much, y'all. You did such an amazing job. And, for those of you who are here live, you're going to receive these resources right after today's event if you haven't downloaded them already. And if you happen to be watching the recording, just glance down below this video and you're going to have access to it there. So self-talk, it's just one of the 27 mindset skills that you can help kids develop. In fact, it's skill book 15. So when Rahima was talking about some of the different terms like conscious mind, subconscious mind, neural pathways, reticular activating system, all those were taught earlier in the curriculum. So depending on which skill books a coach will actually use with the child, they may or may not understand those terms already. And, as a coach, you will help them understand what they need to understand for the story itself. But if you've loved what you've experienced here today and you can see yourself helping kids this way, we invite you to explore more about becoming a certified wisdom coach, where you can create a flexible, purpose-driven business that you love while making a difference in children's lives. We've certified many hundreds of coaches in over 30 countries for more than a decade, and we would be honored to have you join us as well. You can coach one-on-one, small groups, in person, online, the workshops, part-time, full-time. The path is yours to create, and we're here to guide your way. With certification, you get the full story-based coaching curriculum. So that's teaching all 27 skills, the step-by-step story coaching process, and each one of those steps has a coaching tool as part of it. There's an abundance of marketing, business, and coaching tools, as well as marketing and business training for you. So things like how to say what you do, how to package and price your services, how to find clients, how to have conversations with parents, and how to build belief in yourself when you're just starting out, and so much more. And of course, you'll become part of a global community of like-minded coaches who just wake up every day excited about helping kids. So if you're curious about coaching kids, I want to share with you what your best next step is. That is to watch the overview video. It's called How You Can Get Started as a Life Coach for Kids. And inside of it, it's going to tell you all the details, how it works, what you get, the investment, how to get started. Everything's going to be in that. So we're not going to go into the details here. So it's on our website. I can share, actually, instead of sharing my screen, because we're a little bit short on time, we'll send you a link, but adventuresinwisdom.com is our corporate site. Up at the top, there's two tabs that's there. One says Be a Coach. You click on that tab and you'll see Overview Video. And if you're a parent and you're interested in having a coach work with your child, just click on the tab that says For Parents. You'll have access to our directory. And we also have a special form there. We call it Connect with a Coach, where you can share with us what you're looking for coaching around, and we can help match a coach for you. You'll have several that you can choose from there. And that can help you just get started, whether you want to be a coach or you want someone to coach to work with your child. So this work is so life-changing for kids, for families, and for our coaches. So if you're feeling inspired, we'd be honored to help guide your way as we're changing the world one child at a time, one story at a time. And so we're going to open up to Q&A in just a minute, but first, huge thank you to Karen, Delia, and Rahima for bringing this experience to you today, and for you taking time out of your life to be here to see what's possible for you as well.